Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my little bit delayed review of Violent Night. I was meant to do this the 23rd, but unfortunately the holidays caught up with me and I just didn't have a chance to do it until now. So, here it comes out at last. Um, First of all, Happy New Year. So still kind of the right season and the right weather for some of you. But yeah, I hope you all had a good one. I will be counting this as 2022 release because I watched it in 2022. I just literally couldn't do the review until now. So technically not the first, not going to technically count this as the first review of the year, unfortunately, but there will be more to come. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and dive right into it. What did I think of this movie? This movie was a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. This movie was a lot better than I thought it would be. I mean, it was still cheesy. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it knew it was cheesy. It knew it was going for it, and it actually achieved it very well. This is definitely on par with you know, a much more stylized version of like a Die Hard Christmas film. I mean, there is a lot of violence in this. There's a lot of blood. It's very over the top. But again, it's super enjoyable. Like the characters, I did enjoy the characters, the dialogue. Um, I mean, David Harbour is just. I'm a huge fan of David Harbour, and he played this so well. Um, Again, not to go into trying hard not to go into spoilers here. I mean, who else do we have in here? We have Beverly D'Angelo, who, if you can remember, she was the actress that played Ellen Griswold in all of the vacation films, which I believe there's five. So that was fun. John Leguizamo, who I did in a previous, who was also in a previous film movie I reviewed last year, The Menu. He also does a very, very great job. I mean, everything is just so holiday themed. Their nicknames, the trailer, not the trailer, the soundtrack. Sorry, very holiday themed, and there were some action themes in there as well. Uh, a lot of action, and the music also did it. The music did a very good job of when the action. It's a very action based soundtrack, but then there's also some sentimental moments in which you get that softer tone, and then of course a lot of Christmas music. Um, yeah, I had a really good time with this. I was surprised that to hear that it can't. It's less than 2 hours, but yeah, its budget was only 22 million. I mean, I guess you can see that in how over the top and cheesy some of the effects are, but I mean, I was surprised. Like, it sort of captured that whole Christmas magic, which no one seems to get. Uh, but yeah, it was so successful, made 73 million. So it did make a profit, which is really good for something like this. Was this rated R? This was. I'm not sure if this was. I'm pretty sure this is rated R, because there is a lot of blood, a lot of violence, a lot of death, and a lot of bodies, and there are guns everywhere in this movie. But yeah, it had a really good time. It's sort of you have children, you have like a bunch of side plots. You know, a family separation. A family that's just downright terrible, filled with terrible people. Uh, Someone who, the robbers, and that whole thing, and then everything just dealing with Christmas, like Saint Nick. It is amazing. But yeah, apparently it was so successful that they are going to do a sequel in which Mrs. Claus will be a potential person within. Does it say how much? Just says that she's going to. Yeah, so yeah, there's a potential for Mrs. Claus, the North Pole, and elves factoring into the story. So, I mean, if it's along these lines, I'm all for it because, like I said, I'm not gonna say it was amazing. It was it was pretty cheesy, very over the top, but it was a lot of fun. Kind of a new take on, say, a Christmas story. Um, Not the movie, just a Christmas story. Uh, with a lot more action, but yet still in the spirit of Christmas somehow. So I don't know how they pulled it off, but I actually really had a lot of fun with this. So anyway, I think that is it for the non-spoiler section for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating. So what would I give this? I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a 7. Um, there's so much in me screaming to give it like an 8 or a 9, but I mean that's my personal thing, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible with this. Again, this is probably a movie that's not for everybody, and I will say that. Um, you know, Again, it's very violent, but at the same time heartwarming. Um, it was certainly very cheap, but it was well shot. I was impressed. Um, but yeah, you know, because the effects were so over the top, they did get cheesy, some to the point of cringeworth, but for the most part, it looked super good. It was super fun. I had a really good time seeing it. And again, while you can and while it's still kind of the season, if you want to check it out, it's definitely worth a recommend, I think. You know? Um, and considering that we are entering January, in which case everyone should know this. No really good movies are expected to come out. Really bad ones, sort of the experiments, come out in January. So this might be a good one to just sort of sit back, relax, watch if you are into that sort of thing. And definitely, its release toward the holidays definitely captured that spirit. As it progresses, I don't think it'll quite hit the same bells with people. So, like I said, this was a seasonal but fun watch, which I thoroughly enjoyed and which I would recommend people to see, though I admit it may not be for everyone. If you love David Harbour, though, definitely go see it because once again, he comes out great. Anyway, so that I think is it for the non-spoiler section. So I will see you in the spoilers here in just a bit. See ya. Hey guys, it is Rapmark here. So, with the spoiler section for Violent Night. So, so again, this story it starts out um, essentially with a family, a very highly dysfunctional, terrible, terrible family. the Lightstones. Um, but you meet Jason and Linda. They have a 7-year-old daughter with Trudy, and they're currently going through. I don't know if it's a divorce or a separate. It says estranged, so I assume they're separated, not yet divorced. So whatever. But yeah, they're going to celebrate Christmas at the grandma's house, and she's just a terrible person. Again, she stole the business from her father when he determined that she couldn't run it because she was a woman, and she essentially plays her kids off against themselves. Just awful, and two of her kids are just total sycophants. Um, and Jason sort of was like that, but then he realized he wanted to the family to his family to stay together. So he devises this plot where he is going to steal all the money in her vault and then just disappear, cut herself out. So yeah, this family's a real piece of work, let me tell you. Um, so yeah, you have Elva and and then her boyfriend, who is a wannabe action star who solely just wants to get his girlfriend's mother's money. And then they have a son that's an online streamer, Bertrude, the ugliest name ever, because they're just total sycophants. it's it's so bizarre. But anyway, so um, while they're there, Jason gives his daughter Trudy a walkie-talkie in which he can talk. She can talk to Santa Claus. Sort of just bring a little Christmas spirit there. Um, then you meet Santa Claus himself. So when you first meet him, he's drunk. He's disparaging Christmas. He is totally disillusioned after years of people not believing in him, kids not being grateful for what they got, and you really wonder, like, is this really Father Christmas? He he disappears later and gets on his sleigh in the manger. So yeah, they've established early on that this is the real deal. And so off he goes, and eventually he gets to the house. So I'm kind of skipping ahead. Um, so a certain amount of the employees at this Christmas party are actually mercenaries who are there to rob them, and they're led by a Mr. Scrooge. They all have these weird code names, like Krampus and Mr. Scrooge. Um, Man, I forget who the rest of them are. Oh, Candy Cane. uh, I forget what all of them were, but those are yeah, you can see. And it's ridiculous. So he gives a signal. They kill every employee, every guard in the house, and then they take the family hostage. Uh, and this is sort of where Santa, comes into the story. When it first starts happening, he wants to escape. He's just like, I ain't down with this. But then he sees that well, first of all, he can't. He gets caught, and he literally just beats the shit out of this mercenary who's trying to take him out. Throws him out the window, and he gets impaled on an iceberg, or an icicle. Um, And he's about just to run away, but then he sees Trudy, and he's just like, and his gunfire while he's fighting the guy scare away the reindeer and the sled. They'll come to play later, and he's just like, all right, I'll do this. And so he starts to fight them off. And there are times where you're literally like, where he's just butchering fools. Like, it's insane. Just with the craziest stuff. And then there are parts where you wonder, is this guy really going to make it? So you find out in a conversation that he has with Trudy after defeating one of the mercenaries that he is... he was a Viking warrior, so Nicomon the Red. And it doesn't really explain what happened, but just that, he's been alive for 1,100 years. Mrs. Claus did a lot to calm him down. And also admits he doesn't fully understand how Christmas magic works. So yeah, while this is all going down and he's taking down people, you have the mercenaries with Mr. Scrooge and Krampus essentially forcing the family to show their gifts to Gertrude. And when she gets to Jason's, there's a card which in essence explains that his whole plan is, while he came over, he stole the money and was going to take off during Christmas with his family and never have anything to do with her again. So, while there's that... Oh my god, gingerbread. Yeah, gingerbread is another one. Anyway, Santa is captured, and Scrooge explains that he has a childhood grudge against Christmas. Something about being blamed for stealing presents. I don't know, like, it's Christmas's fault that he went to larceny. I mean, to be fair, I get... well, not even to be fair. It's fairly ridiculous. But... it sort of feeds the story. But yeah, Santa knows the real identities, and then he escapes through the chimney after being captured. They burn his magic sack, sadly. Now, Gertrude has a kill squad that's led by Commander Thorpe. They arrive, and so... Morgan, he escapes. Alva's husband, or boyfriend, whatever, I don't know. He escapes, and he thinks he's safe because he's run into to Gertrude's kill squad. And then, swap! Nope, not on their side. He gets gunned down immediately. And so he's essentially taken a piece of the pie. So they go to the safe, and when they open it, it's empty because Jason's already emptied it. And obviously this causes a lot of anonymity. So when Scrooge threatens Jason's wife, he confesses the whole thing, that he stole the money and he hid it in a nativity scene outside. And Gertrude forgives it. Apparently it's part of the rite of passage, because once again, she stole the company from her father, as was stated above. It's These are just terrible people. Like, you don't feel sorry for anyone except for maybe the wife, Jason's wife, and their kid. All the rest of these people are just cartoon characters that are just horrible people. But they are funny, I will say that. So anyway, Santa retreats. He is kind of really outgunned, and he doesn't know how he can continue. But then another talk with Trudy, and he sort of is just like goes to his Viking roots. She encourages it, and so he finds a sledgehammer, and he just brutally murders the entire kill squad that's after him. Just utterly destroyed. Like, you see people like with bones just smashing, bones protruding, freaking heads caved in, people exploding on fire. It is just amazing for a Christmas movie. So anyway, after that, he Trudy then does a Home Alone type of thing, which leads into Gingerbread's death after he slips, gets impaled with a nail. He manages to get out of that, but then a bowling ball comes and just crushes him in the head, and that's that. And then oh god, I forgot what the song was, but there is a song playing this part when Candy Cane's about ready to shoot her, but is killed by Santa instead in a very, very brutal way. And so Scrooge gives the order to kill the hostages, but Linda, Alva, and Bert manage to kill Krampus instead, and they literally beat him to death with fireplace implements, including a poker. So that was insane. And then it's just like, hey, you're cool. It's kind of mind blowing. Like I said, this movie may not be for everyone. There is a lot of elements of cheesiness to it, but it was well done cheesiness, in my opinion, that sort of is in line with the humor of this movie. Though there are some parts that really went toward the cringe. So anyway, after that, they Linda manages to kill the last mercenary, and her and Jason reunite, and then Santa chases Scrooge, and he crashes into a cabin though, and that's when Scrooge finds the list, and he sees that he's on the naughty list, and then foresees it as his mission to kill Santa and destroy Christmas forever. it was pretty nuts. So he beats Santa up, and it looks like he's gonna kill him. But then he gets killed when Santa uses the magic to drag him up the cabin's chimney. And because Scrooge is not part of the magic, he literally just gets and then just completely eviscerated by the chimney, and he's just this big bloody mess in Santa's arms. It was it was pretty funny. Anyway, Thorpe is still around. He gets and shoots Santa fatally, but then is blasted in the head by Gertrude. So Santa succumbs to his wounds, and then Trudy gets all the family to declare their belief in Santa, and he is revived, explaining that Christmas magic, and he still doesn't fully get how it works. And then his reindeer return with a note from Mrs. Claus and a new sack of presents. So that's where they went to go get some aid. And then he bids goodbye and then flies off to finish delivering the gifts. And that is how it ends. So once again, super fun, some really ridiculous, it's almost to the point of cringe things, but super funny as well. Good dialogue, good characters. Again, I wouldn't put this as a blockbuster Christmas film, but definitely I wouldn't be surprised to see if this comes like a cult classic at some point. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I thought it was really good for what it was and what it was trying to do. Anyway, that is it for me on Violent Night. 7 out of 10. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.